Well, Trump has a recent success getting Netanyahu to do a ceasefire with Iran.
Yeah.
But I don't think we know whether Israel has additional plans to do military actions in Gaza. We don't really know what Israel's goals now are in Gaza. The footage you just showed shows that Gaza has been leveled. But Israel believes there are still some Hamas fighters left in Gaza, that they still have some military power. They still have caches of weapons that Israel wants to seek out and destroy. And so we don't know what Israel's timeline is to complete those objectives. Also, we're far off the ceasefire that was negotiated at the end of the Biden term, supported by Trump. And we don't have a plan now. There's no phasing of a ceasefire. We don't know when Israel intends to withdraw its troops. Hamas is demanding a full withdrawal and saying it will then enter into a ceasefire. But we also don't have a plan then for the governance of Gaza. And remember, everyone agrees that Hamas cannot continue to govern the people of Gaza. And there's certainly no plan for the reconstruction of Gaza, which will be necessary once the governance of Gaza is worked out.
And as you and I both know, Trump has been nudging Netanyahu for a while, saying, okay, we need to strike some sort of a deal here and bring this war to an end. Do you think that Trump has more leverage now in asking him to do so, and that Netanyahu might listen more closely on Monday, considering the fact that the United States just stepped up and backed up Israel with Iran last weekend?
I think in some ways you're right. That does give President Trump some leverage. But I also think Israel feels like it's on a roll and it wants to complete all of its objectives throughout the Middle East. And keep in mind that it probably hasn't finished everything it wants to do in Iran, even though there's a ceasefire now with Iran. Remember that Iran still has proxy forces in Iraq and in Yemen, even though the proxy forces in Syria and Lebanon have been decimated. I think Israel believes that Hamas still has some connections with Iran, could in the future get support from Iran inside Gaza. So Israel has a plan. I just don't think they've told the United States completely what that plan is. And there may be some more surprises by the Israeli military going forward. And that may be a reason why Netanyahu may be resistant to a full ceasefire inside Gaza.
And just last week, I know you heard this too, at the NATO summit, President Trump said that he did think that the American strikes on Iran got Israel a step closer to a deal with Hamas, and also, got those remaining hostages one step closer to coming back home. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, he might be right. I think the strikes that the U.S. ultimately did on Iran were necessary because we have to ensure that Iran cannot develop a nuclear weapon. If Iran were able to develop a nuclear weapon, it could hold the rest of the Middle East hostage. Now it is substantially weakened because whether the nuclear weapon capacity is put off for a few months or a few years, everyone knows Iran is not as strong as it used to be. It doesn't have that card to play that it has a nuclear weapon if it were to develop one. And so this may be the best chance for that to happen. But I wouldn't count Iran out. We still don't know where the 900 pounds of enriched uranium is. We don't know the full damage that was done to the 3 nuclear facilities inside Iran. And we don't know what else Iran might be planning, including support for other terrorist groups around the world.